Hello and welcome to another episode of Demystifying Hindu philosophy, mythology, and rituals. Today I'd like to talk about dharma. It's not an easy concept to understand, and most modern Hindus are confused about it, and rightfully so. Even the greatest of sages and kings and leaders have grappled with it and fallen short many a time. I'd like to discuss dharma as a two-step process. The first is going to the root word dhri, which is to hold together. Now, what is to be held together? The qualities and properties that make up a thing, to hold the essential quality. And secondly, to sort out the human condition. Now, what are the qualities or properties that define a human being? There are two qualities we have, or two kinds of, two aspects to a human being: a spiritual aspect and a material aspect. And the material aspect of us generates the desire for the desire for money, sex, and power. And the spiritual properties in us or aspect of us generates the desire for Sat, Chit, Ananda, or truth, consciousness, bliss. Now we come to the second step of understanding dharma, that is sorting out the human condition. What is the human condition that needs sorting out? Sorting out the relationship or the balance between the material properties in us, aspect in us, and the spiritual aspects in us, because both are equally important, but we need to harmonize that. So dharma is very specific to each person. It varies with time, place, and circumstances. It is not, like I mentioned, it is not easy to know what is your dharma at each situation, and hence there is the need to study the scriptures and have a guru or a mentor, and to set aside time to introspect what your dharma is at a particular situation. But to understand dharma, we have to start at a basic level, and there are two ways, two aspects we need to understand before we can really figure out what our dharma is under any particular circumstance. So the first one is the varnas, and this is very often the misunderstood concept of the caste system. And varnas is not the caste system as it is understood today. All the varnas say is that the human beings have four aptitudes, predilections or aptitudes on how, which is an indicator of their behavior. The four varnas are the Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Brahmana. Now the Shudra, if your attitude or your awareness is at the Shudra level, your dharma is to first and foremost just look after yourself. If you can just look after yourself without causing any harm to anybody, you have fulfilled your dharma. If your aptitude is at the Vaishya level, then your dharma is to create wealth and opportunities for society as a whole. To create wealth not just for yourself, wealth, jobs, other opportunities to enjoy life and to thrive, not just for yourself, but for the society as a whole. Your aptitude could be that of a Kshatriya, which is to fight for social justice, to bring social order in society, not just for yourself, but for everybody. And if your dharma is that, or your aptitude is that of a Brahmana, your duty is to first educate yourself about the ultimate truth and reality, and then communicate or educate others in the society, not just yourself, but everybody else, about the higher concepts, principles. So this is about the varna. Then there is a fourfold ashrama, which we talk about stages of life. Again, there are 4 stages in life. First is the brahmacharya, which is your life as a student. there are certain qualities and properties you need to inculcate as a student, which is to dedicate most of your time to learning, to not be focused on material goods, to practice celibacy. Then the second stage is the grahastya, which is your life as a householder. There it is, you get married, you create, you have progeny, you create wealth, you look after everybody else, not just yourself and your family, but also through your donations and charities. You look after other members of the society, and that is your dharma. Then the third stage is the vanaprastha. This is when you have created a family, you have earned your money, and this is the stage of retirement where you gradually step back from creating wealth, from creating children, from earning name and fame in society. This is a retirement and a stepping stone to the final stage, which is the sannyasa ashram. Here you step back and you guide your children and other younger people through your experience on how to create a society, a prosperous, successful and happy society. And then finally is the sannyasa ashram, where you learn to detachment from material needs. So depending on your aptitude, which is whether you're a Sudra or a Vaishya or a Kshatriya or a Brahmana, and your stage in life, you could be a student, or you could be a householder, you could be a retired person, or you could be in the final stages of your life where you're practicing detachment from material needs and focusing primarily on your spiritual needs, will determine your dharma. So another thing which makes dharma very difficult to understand is because everybody understands the ultimate truth in a different way. Our personal reality creates our personality creates our personal reality. So our beliefs, our thoughts, our feelings, emotions and actions make us see truth in a different way. So there is no one truth when we are at the level of individuals, even though there is one unifying ultimate truth, but we perceive it differently. So that is why it makes it difficult. And also it is different according to the time and according to a different place and situations and circumstances. The main journey in this path is to determine what is our swadharma, because swa is myself, I, and dharma is what we discussed, the sorting out the human condition. So where do I find myself, in what is my aptitude, and where in life am I right now, whether I'm a student, a householder, a retired person, or towards the latter part of my life, focusing on spirituality, will determine what my swadharma is at that point. And then we must also understand what is adharma. So adharma, there are 5 kinds of adharma. One is vidharma, which is spoiling other people's dharma. That definitely is not dharma. When somebody is practicing his or her dharma, spoiling it. Second one is paradharma, practicing somebody else's dharma. So if you're a student, you're trying to behave like a householder. And if you're a householder, you're trying to behave like a sannyasi. This is paradharma. That is not your dharma at that point in your life. That is not your dharma. Then comes upama, which is appearing to do dharma. For instance, if you're a student, you just wear your uniform, you take your books and you go to the school, and you're just wasting time thinking of dreaming of how you will, whom to marry and how you will create your wealth and how you'll build. That is not, you're just doing mechanically being a student. Or being a householder and thinking of being, just constantly being in a learning environment, or constantly being in a spiritual environment. That is not your dharma at that point. So that is called paradharma. Then comes the So we talked about vidharma, spoiling somebody's dharma. Second one is paradharma, trying to do somebody else's dharma. 3 is upama, which is appearing to do dharma. Then comes chala, which is deception, where you deliberately, with malicious intent, deceiving somebody. You are not a person, you're not an educator, you're not a Brahmin, but you're pretending to be one and guide others when you yourself don't know what is the ultimate truth, or what is what is the ultimate reality, and you're trying to guide somebody based on maybe some other motivations. That is called chala. That is also a dharma. And finally, we have abhasa, which is where dharma is not applicable. For instance, you are, let's say, you're a lawyer and you're talking to a client, and there is a client attorney-client privilege. Now, if you tried to use that in a different circumstance where you're not a lawyer, you're a doctor, or you're a student, or you're a corporate personality, it does not apply there. So that is, the dharma is not there, and you're trying to create a dharma. So these are the few things that one has to keep in mind, which is vidharma, do not interfere in other people performing their dharmas. Then is paradharma, do not try to follow somebody else's dharma. Third is upama, don't just mechanically try to follow dharma, whatever it is that you have determined is your dharma. Then fourth is chala, trying to pretend to follow your dharma when you're with a wrong motivation. And finally is abhasa, trying to create a dharma where it does not exist at that point. So what is the ultimate test? It is confusing. What is the ultimate test? The ultimate test is based on your current level of understanding. Is what you are planning to do taking you towards ultimate truth? And it's a very subtle concept. We said it is not very obvious, then everybody would be performing their dharma without any problem. And towards this, I will, and also we have to understand that there is a Vishesha dharma, which is a higher level of dharma, and then there is a Samanya dharma, which is a lower level of dharma. And Vishesha dharma always trumps over Samanya dharma. And this can be understood if you, in the context of the constitutional law and the local laws. Anytime there is a conflict, the constitutional law would precede and take precedence and over the local laws. So likewise, let me give you an example. There was once a sage who was meditating in the forest, and then he became aware of a hunter who came running his way and asked him that, I am chasing a deer to kill. Have you seen that deer go this way? Now the sage is caught in a dharma sankat, as they say, not knowing which dharma to follow, because the two dharmas here in conflict are telling the truth, because he has seen the deer run a certain way, which is telling the truth is a dharma, and then satya, and then ahimsa, non-violence. Which dharma will triumph here? And he decided that ahimsa is paramo dharma, trumped over the dharma of satya, which is telling the truth. So he could not, but being a Brahmin and being a sage, he could not lie completely, outrightly. So he found a clever way out of this situation. He told the hunter, these eyes can see but cannot talk, and this mouth can talk but cannot see. So this is a very fun way of explaining how to overcome your conflicts in dharma. In real life, it is not that easy, but we always have to understand that when two higher beliefs or goals conflict, you will have to take time out and figure out which is the better dharma. And this will be illustrated by the story of Bhishma, in Mahabharata, where Draupadi is being disrobed in the assembly, and he is conflicted between his Kshatriya dharma to protect an unarmed person and his dharma of Satya. He has given his word to his father that he will always protect the throne of Hastinapur, and there is no easy answer to that. So it is something that you will always have to spend time, look to the scriptures and find a mentor or a guru, and spend time introspecting to find out what is the right thing for you to do. I hope it gave you a basic understanding into dharma, and if you have any questions, please comment and I'll try my best to address. And thank you very much for watching.